Okay.
9 o'clock.
And I'm sure that they're going to watch the clock. Here's what we have. In my perception of a retreat is for the council members to talk to each other. And what we did in the month of June, I sat with each council person, just the two of us, and came up with areas of concern that we need to look at for the coming 2 years. And what we're going to put on that board up there is the areas of concern that were raised by 7 councilmen. We're not going to vote on anything. We're just going to identify that this is an area of concern and move on to the next slide. So let's give you the first slide. Okay, we can go to the next one now. Now this is number 1. Find a procedure to determine tax levy requirements in a more appropriate time. Does everybody agree with that? Let's go to the next slide.
But Henry, can I make a suggestion? Since this is a retreat, it should be a dialogue.
So it will be a dialogue, but they don't even talk about that one. You don't even talk about whether or not we should do our taxes better. Let's go to the second. Okay. Now, the question on the screen is that there are some areas of concern in terms of our staffing that we have to deal with as soon as we can. Now, CFO, retired municipal judge, bank and social worker, compliance officer, and that's the first set of things. And the second one, I asked Mr. Eason to give us a list of vacancies on statutory advisory boards. So I think he's prepared that. Now we can talk. What would you like to say?
No, what I would like to request is that the Personnel Committee ask the manager to start putting out the positions that we need to start interviewing for. We'll try to set up a meeting with the Personnel Committee to interview for these positions.
That's fine. I'm just saying. So that's the item on the list. Let's do it.
Okay.
We don't have to vote on it. This is the proposal. Let's just have the manager do that.
So you got it? Okay.
Next item.
I just have a quick question. Has there been any updates on the ability to hire new social workers? The ability to hire a new social worker, has there been any update or change in that status?
We can't discuss any employee right now. No one's been riced.
Okay.
So their current employees of the
Not the
There is no
employee
current
position.
employee.
With regard to the position, are we able to?
She's not officially.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, he's still on to have
All right.
The next one is municipal infrastructure affairs. I believe that the capital discussion was last night, and there is a motion to go forward to repair the municipal facilities that we listed as being in need of repair. So we can move on to the next one.
Well, no, before you do that.
Before we
Can we go back for a second? I think, listen, maybe I got the wrong impression because this is what we've been doing for many years. The purpose of the retreat is to sit around, talk about priorities, and you made a great list of items based on speak to everyone. I think now, we should discuss as a council what we want is, what there's a consensus of for a priority. So you talk about the Rhoda Center, and it may not be 4 people who feel that's important, or maybe 7 people that feel it's absolutely important. I do feel it's important, but I want to go one step further, and that is that there's the house of Mr. Holland that I've mentioned it before, that's going to be coming up for sale any day. And if we don't take a proactive approach to try to look and get that house, we're going to lose it, just like we lost the house that I mentioned on Queen
Next to the
Anne.
road or something.
Correct.
Okay.
Because no one is taking responsibility and say, listen, the council does want that house or the council doesn't want that house. If they do want to have that house, then they have to be aggressive. It's real estate like anything else.
See, I'm not in disagreement with what you're saying. I'm just saying that the list as it is, we need to be aware that that's the concerns that the council has. Now, you want to add that house, that's another item.
So the first question is there a consensus for the first one? Are the 4 people that say that this should be our priority over the next year and a half, to do the repair of the Rhoda Center?
I think repair the road center was part of the bond that started the last period, so we actually, you can check that off.
We've all said it is a priority because we voted for the bond yesterday, although
We
we
did.
didn't pass yet. Okay, now the other question you have is repair the infrastructure of the main municipal building Is that a priority of the council? Is that
That
part of
was
the bond?
listed in the bonding.
Okay, so right now,
Look, I want to understand something. Just because something is being bonded also, and something is in the capital plan, doesn't mean it's actually going to get spent on, right? So there's bonding ordinances that have been open for the last few years. The question comes down to is, I think, is what are we prioritizing and when are we prioritizing?
so
And hold on, I just want to say, I don't see, everybody's been, I know come January and November, everybody's going to talk about zeros again. And all of these things are great until you tell me how you're going to pay for it, or how, we're all going to pay for it. So I don't see, again, like in a retreat, I think you have some great ideas. I just don't, I want to get there also, but I want to get there with the
that
financial
doesn't mean,
picture.
Mayor, we can't at least put it down on as a potential item to want,
Here's what
right?
happens,
I have a
right?
wish list, right?
You have a wish list, the capital plan is a wish list. Things get on the capital plan, next thing you know, it becomes like gospel that you have to fund this stuff, right? Some people look at it that way. I've never looked at the capital budget.
He does some realism.
Okay, let me try to get control of this thing. With the list of things came out of the discussion with the 7 council people. This is what they talked about.
Yeah, but
This is not a conclusion.
Yeah, but you talked
These
to
are
everybody.
recommendations.
No, but Henry, I think we should come to some
If you
conceptual
can.
conclusions today and come up with a list of things that we want, a roadmap.
So can
Especially
I
as-
start the process by interrupting you and saying, your idea was actually discussed on some groups today, about that house next to Votine Park, next to the Rhoda Center, is a #1 priority for me and for the PPRAB as well when I was on it, for acquisition. So who can be tasked with knocking on their door, speaking with the owner? That's a 1, 2, 3, you, right?
I
And raise your
have a
hand.
question. What is the intent with the acquisition?
So the PPRAB, when I represented it, wanted to, yeah, Jim, the PPRB, when I represented it, wanted to acquire that property, to complete more of the park, but also to add parking to the Rhoda Center where it was desperately needed, right over there, as opposed to, yes, the spot across the street was nice, but doesn't get used as
So
much.
primarily for parking, you're saying?
That was what the PPRB suggestion was back
or
then.
That's where the pool should be.
Yeah, or you enlarge the Rhoda Center to add the pool, and then
What are we doing with the other pool?
No, indoor.
indoor pool.
Indoor.
Oh,
You know what they do?
now we're retreating.
Now we're retreating.
Now we're talking.
During the winter, does that double as nicer?
No.
Yeah, I mean, we have our children from the high school are going out to other facilities, we're renting facilities for our kids to swim. That could be a money-generating facility.
Or money savings, which is
Or
the
money
same
savings.
the same as money
Yeah.
generating.
So at least, but I just want, curious as to what potential ideas, if it's a parking lot, a pool, at least there's some.
I guess the issue is that the first thing you gotta do is get the property. So once you get the property, then you can decide.
Then we can have input.
But I think you're right,
Curious
that's a
as to what-
priority.
what the board's
So,
intent.
so then if there's everyone's in favor, then it should be down on our goals and objectives.
Well,
for next year.
the Rhoda Center thing,
Well, depends what he wants.
Yeah,
And
that's
also,
basically.
listen, it also doesn't mean we're gonna accomplish all of our goals and objectives.
It just depends on what.
I have to emphasize the Rhoda Center. We're dealing with a situation here where we're actually destroying property. Okay, and it's been that way since I was coaching PPI itself, which has been more than a few years.
Speak closer to the
We're
microphone.
already, I'm sorry, we're already having a situation where the floor is getting ruined. Kids can't play. You have water coming down on them during games. They have to cancel games. They can't,
Rhoda Center.
yeah.
We all agree.
No, we agreed to the bond. I want to make sure and emphasize how important this is when it comes back to the final, to go through, that it is.
I don't think we're looking around this table.
That's
Okay,
not,
I just
that's
wanna
not,
make sure.
if it got introduced, it's gonna get passed. I think that's just the part you implement, and I think that was a priority. The question that we always have, as a council person, and as everybody else, is like, when we have these bond ordinances, we have all these things, and we put everything together and bunch them in one. I would like to see it broken out and looked at priorities about, okay, this is cars, this is this, this is this. Yeah, the council agrees with doing it that, that's the only reason that didn't go through. No one doesn't want to fix a leaky roof.
No, I understand.
Okay, all right.
Okay, but put it on our list.
Okay, so we got one thing done, right? So everybody's in agreement that we want to
Who's
go after
keeping the
this?
master list?
I got this.
You got the master list? Okay.
I think he's keeping minutes.
You should make a master list.
I hope so.
But can I ask, on that second note, in terms of preservation of existing property, it was about the restoration of the mold and things at the municipal building. So is that something you already talking about remediation of an existing building? Is that something that?
Well, it's like the basement is not being used for anything right now. And hold
The
on.
basement has to be remediated.
Look,
I'm gonna tell you why. Let me just explain why. If you saw the pictures of what's going on down there, where there's black mold that's growing, this has to be fixed, or you may lose ability to be in the building.
Yeah, no, I understand that it's gonna be moving forward and fixing the mold and health problems are always, this is the questions like, again, priorities of what we're gonna have to get done. Whether those decisions, the positions of the township manager, you know, that's, once the bonding is done, that's your call. Or whoever the manager is gonna be, that's your call, right? We can't stop it at that point, okay? So that's the check, you know, there's no checks and balances. The checks and balances is when we don't vote for it. So that's not the issue of what you're talking about priorities here. What we're talking about is, okay, this is gonna get done, that has to get done, right? What else do you wanna get done?
Can I add one more thing? That I think the council should establish priorities with its budget. Then you don't need to have a second meeting about it. If we're not funding it, it shouldn't be in the capital budget. That's where I'm going. We have 4 months of a budget discussion. That's when we should talk about what's going to be in the capital budget. If it's not a priority, then maybe you should think about taking it out. It makes the process easier to, and then we would be able to put it in one, because we discussed it during the budget season and determined that, okay, William, that's in, or
We've
whoever
had
that's
these
in.
philosophical discussions over and over, you know, and I'm glad that we're doing it again. I'm like thinking about this, I'm just like, well, we're not gonna do this anymore, but, you know, and I haven't had my chance to say my good things, and I wanna hold off till October 9th, but I appreciate all your service. But again, this is the philosophical discussion of what we can do, what we have to do, and what we can afford to do.
Right.
Right? And what we can afford to do is not necessarily clear to us during the budget process. Because we'll take a position, we'll fund a position, but we won't fill it. Or we can't fill it. Right? For whatever reasons, there's different ways that you know, we mix the budget back and forth and we don't know. So then it's not as easy as saying don't put it in the capital budget, because I want it in the capital budget because I might be able to do it. Right? But I only want to do it if it doesn't affect the zeros, right? So there's all sorts of dancing that we do in this dance that doesn't get us to the end, or it's like a redevelopment agency. Just because we have one doesn't mean we got to develop it.
Okay.
Henry, I know.
Understand my perspective. My perspective is to put up there what people were talking about, that they'd like to see something happen with for the next 2 years. That's what it's up to.
We just got 2 done. Keep going. You know, people
All right,
discuss.
We got 2 items on our master list.
Very good. Let's go to the next one. Location of the DPW, that's up in the air right now. We don't have a conclusion on that.
All right, I'd like to put that on our master list, that the location of the DPW should be solidified. Oh, we have 4 people or 4?
Yes.
Yes. I think we should go forward.
All right,
So let's
that's on
find out
the master
what
list.
the answers are. Mr. Mayor, you got any comments about this?
I think he agrees, he wants to.
I want to move forward with it.
Put
We
it
got
on
to
the
do
list.
something. Something will be done with the DPW.
Okay,
Right.
next item. The library, wait a minute, go back. The library, they're trying to get a renovation. I don't know how we participate in that. Do we help them, or what is that? Is that our tax thing, or what it is?
Can't do it without us. Yeah.
Now, the state was offering a whole bunch of money for libraries, they had the whole voting thing last season. Did we get anything from that?
No, it hasn't formally come out yet in the application process. Now, we've bonded or approved the bonding for our 500 match, but we haven't heard anything yet on that money, applications for that money coming out yet. So that's still in the works.
So that could be contingent upon hearing about that.
Yeah, so we wanted to have the money in place so we could match. We wanted to get 500, and we would have our own 500. I have not heard anything on the library application.
You got
Okay, as far as the last item, if we can get the bottom of the building taken care of, we can bring in community agencies to use that space.
So, right.
Let's go to the next spot.
Change the rate.
Loose ends. Hang Mayor Parker's pictures, that's been hung yet?
What's the status?
October 9th, right?
Where's these?
Where are we with Lou Schwartz in the Voter Center?
Yes, Mayor Parker's picture is scheduled for October 9th.
That's right. No. Now the Lou Schwartz thing, I wanted to, we have a proof from the manufacturer, I just got that like yesterday. But it says November 2018. I believe it needs a date. We can't make this bronze plaque and it not say the exact date it was dedicated. It shouldn't say just a month. It should say dedicated November 5th, or whatever that date is. So I think if we could just choose a date today,
15.
that's the lead. Isn't that the lead? We're not gonna be here?
No, I don't know if it's a leak day, but I mean,
Well,
10
we
years
need
from,
some
10 years
data.
from now, no one's gonna look and say, oh, wait,
Make the 15th
there's
so
no
we
way
can-
they dedicated it that day.
Let's make the 15th so we
It's
can.
nice
move
to
on
have
the next
dates.
one.
Okay, fine, so November 15th, everyone agree?
Yes.
Okay, next one. The emergency alarm system, I understand that's been taken care of.
That been working on it.
Check.
Still working on it.
All right, but that's on
But
our,
we've
that's,
done all we
that
can
should
do.
be, but that should be on our master list.
It's already been
Because
approved.
we wanna see that get done. Right.
Yeah, I mean, we've done everything we can to make that happen, so let's move on.
Because it's not done.
Ms. Lewis next.
Okay, Teaneck Road Streetscape, where are we? with that?
Funded is with the bonds. We-
That should be on our master list unless there's any objection.
First reading was done yet, on Tuesday night.
Okay, the field house,
First reading was done on
That should
Tuesday
be
night.
on our master list unless there's any objection.
where are we with the billboards?
Legal, was it? Mr. Attorney?
We don't know where we are.
No, we're still in discussions with the billboard, with their attorneys. We're trying to work it out and see if there's going to be a resolution. They've been flexible with us in terms of not filing a lawsuit. So we're in the discussion stage still. I anticipate that's going to continue for some time.
Okay, as far as the greenbelt is
Just back on that
concerned.
for a minute. Is there any opportunity, I've asked this a few times along Route 80, any of that county property, anything that we could take advantage of along that corridor?
Maybe above the dinosaur.
Okay, so that's not really land. I think we have to-
I would say
Back of
that's
the
no.
dinosaur sign.
I would say no on Route 80. There's some issues with the distance a billboard has to be from entrances and exits to highways. And we looked at that, and it was a no at that time, and that's why I went to Route 4.
Okay, what about the ordinance about Route 4, the greenbelt? I thought we were almost there. Where are we?
We're just waiting for the billboard piece.
Huh?
We're waiting for the
billboard
to
connect.
to resolve.
Billboard
They're connected,
connected.
yeah, they're connected.
All right. And then I
Seal and
guess-
seal also.
Seal and seal, what do we do with that?
There was some talk about that. Is that a building, is that a plot that can be acquired by the township?
It's for sale for a while, I believe, right?
I mean, I think they're still a little high in the
Oh,
price.
yeah,
right now.
oh, definitely.
They're still high in the price, but from a municipal open space aspect, that's open space that we could, if again, if it can't be developed, and there was some issues and that space was too small to develop, that's a perfect open space aspect that, maybe we may have to wait them out until they move on to a better world, and then their heirs may have a more realistic price. But I think that.
All right, what's next?
Next item. Parking. We have, every time we meet, we cut out some parking somewhere. And I think a parking concern is one that we'll want to list as your.
Yes, so if
As a master.
may I jump in? This is the one goal I have personally for the next 2 years, is to establish 2 or 3 locations of parking garages. The planning board took the first step, which was, I believe, had to approve the last page of our
So,
updated
so
plan.
did we create a parking subcommittee yet?
That's my number one priority. That's,
Mark the chair.
So,
We did, I believe, at least you are on the deputy mayor Katz, and I'd have to go back and check. I don't I don't know if that, I think that might still be vacant.
Can I join?
Yeah.
We got two.
Right.
Why don't we do the following, if it's okay with council? Keith, Henry, and Mark, let them identify some more parking areas. Are you guys okay with that?
I'm fine with that. I go away for one, and you get create a subcommittee?
4 parking garages, built.
Don't worry, you're not.
Okay, so parking, we're gonna deal with that.
Who is that? Who's the subcommittee?
1, 2, 3.
Keith decided to, right here.
And Mark.
Keith.
Okay, Mark's the self-appointed chair.
Yes.
Good luck, man.
I understand that there's a committee that's supposed to meet openly about that. Did we set that up?
No, we never set that up. That was set up for the previous council.
Oh, yeah? I don't know what it was.
It was Alan, Jason, and you.
I know, but I don't know if there was a new one set up.
We didn't set up a new team. Let's do that the next meeting.
We need to
Yeah,
set
so
one
so
up.
based on this.
I think
we'll move
it's
on.
myself, Ellie, and
Henry?
and Henry or Javon,
Is it
whichever one.
related to the same kind of conversation in terms of its total separate?
In terms of,
The parking garage? and
no,
parking
this has
lot?
nothing to do with that. This has to do with taxing and taxing hospitals. And we're actually in litigation with them, so.
Okay, so.
So actually, I don't need, we should discuss.
Yeah, that's fine.
with them.
It's like 2 more that are
We
taxes.
start
That's
going
fine.
into talking about anything else, about talking about.
And we're in the hospital right now.
Okay.
So, Mayor, so it's myself, Henry, and you for
Yeah,
this.
let's just keep it this way. That would
Everyone's
be
okay
the.
with that?
That's fine. Next line. The memorials on the village green, the committees are busy discussing all kinds of things, and we really don't have anything to add to that particular flyer.
So who's on this committee now? This committee was dissolved too.
No,
That was-
we
You redid it? Who's on it?
You have two, you got Ellie and me and somebody else.
On what?
And Thunder.
Council, I believe in your package.
That's fine. Right now, there's nothing for us to do because they're.
We have a list of
I
subcommittees.
think that, those are what I need on.
It's not a subcommittee list.
I do have a subcommittee list for the next.
So what happened with me and Loretta? Loretta, okay, there's been some money sent to the township to be given to the two committees. And there was some confusion as to how the library would get it. So it was sent to the township, and I don't know if the library actually had the money or not. Did we pass something to the library to get that last week, time we met?
Easy. What's
We
been happening?
passed something the other day to allow the library to get the
Yeah,
money.
Lisa's been
given.
working on that.
Yes, so, Council Brewer, the council on Tuesday night adopted a chapter 159 resolution, that library grant that brings the money into the 2018 budget. On Tuesday, the auditors and I are meeting to clean up some financial issues. That will be one of those issues where the grant money will come into the financial system, and we'll be able to issue checks from that for any reimbursement.
Library will or you
The
will?
library from us, from the township, or whoever else. put
Well,
out.
we did that last time.
We did several grants on Tuesday night.
Let's go to the next.
Also, for Councilman Schwartz, Deputy Mayor Schwartz, the Cedar Lane will be getting their budget into the financial system Tuesday as well.
Next slide. I won that time.
You ran out of time, 10 minutes.
Okay, advisory boards. I think that their advisory boards complain that we really don't have a chance to talk to them. And I suggested that we set up a mechanism where advisory boards could come to the council meeting, spend 15 minutes and
No,
talk
hold
about
on.
what their concerns are.
There is, they have to issue a report with us, right?
I mean, they should, it all depends on which board is, we're talking
Okay, so
about.
there's been going on, there's things that they don't listen to us, and there's things that they don't do, right? And now it's hard enough to get volunteers to be on a board, but some of these boards have statutory requirements that they have to come up and, give in their annual reports as well as their attendance and minutes and all these other different things that we have to do. Now, again, listening to advisory boards, I listen to advisory boards, you listen to advisory, people come to the meetings, right? The question comes down to it, advisory boards are there to advise council, and it's not the end all of what we have to do. Again, Parks and Recreation, I know very well what they want, right? I know exactly who's on there, I have relationships with people who do want, people who are pro, people who are con, and which way they're going. That doesn't mean that we're not listening, we just disagree with them respectfully sometimes.
I think we should set up a mechanism where we give the advisory boards a chance to speak to the council.
One thing I had mentioned to the manager and the attorney, and I just want to follow up on it. The municipal land use law specifically mentions one report, that's an annual report from the Board of Adjustment. adjustment. It's a very important report, and as far as I know, we haven't been doing it here in town. It's under Rule 40:55D-70.1. And the Board of Adjustment gets a lot of variance requests over the year. The purpose of the report is to take the most common requests that they regularly grant. We've had things come up before, people applying for generators, people applying for AC units, and in the 1920s, that might have been, or 40s, 50s, that might have been a huge deal to inconvenience neighbors. Today, it's a no-brainer. They could be 5 feet away. So we've changed rules. The purpose of this report is to give council information on the variances that they are regularly granting so that we have that information and know what rules change instead of waiting for some resident to make a complaint about how variances are hard to get. I would like to make sure that we get that annual report from this one specific board that's mentioned not only in the state statute but ours so that we can make those changes on an annual basis.
So Henry,
Yeah.
in the past, they've done a few things. First of all, reports, as the mayor said. But the other thing is we had once a year a party together at the Rhoda Center where we invited all the advisory boards with the council. And the other thing we once did was we had a meeting just like this where we all sat around table. And we had the advisory board sitting over here. And we went group by group and they designated whoever it was to just say a little something. So
I'm saying something
it
each
was a
year.
one-time, it was a good
Something
opportunity.
each year.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well,
That's fine.
I think that definitely is of value, and also in terms of if there's any particulars that things that have changed, like they were talking about some groups we don't hear from, but maybe there are some challenges, but we hear from the regulations. It also could create some better opportunities for implementation, so.
And attendance.
And then the fourth
No, we
thing,
can have
and then the
18 more
fourth
workshops
thing
to
we
see if
did
people
was,
show up.
we had your appreciation night at the high school, where we gave everybody certificates.
Oh, I remember many years ago, when I was
Yeah, you guys
president of
did
the
that.
council, we gave everybody,
It
who
worked
was
out
on
as
the
well as
advisory
you
board,
guys
we gave them
moving
a
the
pin.
tables around.
And made a
So
big,
let's make
big
sure
deal
that you
about
guys do it,
Well,
I said it was as good as you guys moving the tables around.
Well,
So I really want that night, huh?
chunky checks working.
So, well,
I
we
just
get
think we
this
need to
done.
do something to recognize
fine,
what
so
it
you
is
have-
can be.
I
have
agree
four
with you,
options
just
on
make
the
sure
table.
we're turning out better than we were at the high school that
Yeah,
year.
I think we're
That
in
was
favor of that
painful.
some type of thing.
Next item.
Listen,
wait, so they're not taking it and not making it to the master list?
so.
Yeah, I'm on the master list with it.
Let's put down a yearly event with the advisory boards, and we can define.
Which could be half social,
Yeah,
half business.
yeah.
That's fine.
Social for the cookies and the thank yous.
No, we gotta have food.
And then
Food,
half
these are good
business.
Diet Coke.
Sit around, just like this.
Mr. Katz, I agree with you 100%. We need to do that every day.
Let me
No,
do
so
this.
we just said we're adding it to the master list.
Absolutely.
Next.
The managers keep
Also,
track.
aren't they invited to any meeting if something came up that they needed to, are they automatically invited to any meeting?
Only
Come
Ken Hop.
say,
They can come, they can ask to be put on the agenda. How many times have you gotten called to be put on the agenda, right? So everything goes through the
You all
liaison.
don't mind us, we're talking to each other, it's all right.
Everything goes through the liaisons, and I think
But
that.
it helps set parameters, because sometimes there's a transition in the committee, so it helps set, at least on an annual basis, of what the.
Yeah, I'm agreeable with that. Like, that's it. If you got something that you want to advise, we have that meeting, half business, half social.
Half
We
business, half
recognize-
social, and half certificates.
Yes.
That's fine.
Half, that's.
The list up there.
That's sponsored by the
You want me to
Teaneck
address
Council.
this list up?
I'm trying to get through
You
now.
want me to address this list up there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Piazza and Associates is our township consultant. The only applicable project right now is Teaneck Square that's being worked on. The next project that's coming up is Fort Lee Road site, and that was worked on earlier this month and reached out to the developer, to the building department, and Piazza. They're at least a year away getting the CFO. That is the Fort Lee Road and Teaneck Road, 227 Teaneck Road. So that is the next project that will be going up for an affordable housing lottery in approximately a year from now.
Look, I think we should have once a month, people who want to come in and just sign up with the town. Because I am saying, I'll be honest with you, I'm saying this, right, is that every time we turn around, I get accused or somebody saying that there's a list out there, that we're not giving out the information, that Piazza is not getting back to. What is the solution for this?
Can we have people sign up
a solution.
and then we
No,
email them?
No.
Email them
That's
when the next
before
one
the-
comes out and
Yes,
says,
I think
They don't
you
understand.
had interest in affordable
something.
housing, let's.
So maybe can we have
We
a sign-up sheet on the website?
We already have on our website, if you're interested in X, Y, and Z, sign up individually. Let's direct them, we create a new box, if you're interested in affordable housing, click here, and when the.
Future mailing does come in.
We hired Piazza to do that, let's let them do it.
But obviously, they're not doing it if people are still.
I know, I got it tonight also.
If people are still coming, you know why this is frustrating that you put this out there right now? I'm so happy you put this out there. I'm really happy, because every time, and it's the same people over and over again, saying that there's some kind, how do I get this affordable housing? Where's this
There
conspiracy?
is not any
You all,
And
you understand this,
information's not available.
you understand this, you understand this, but somehow it's not getting to the people who think that we're keeping something from them.
It's not that, when you're
And-
presenting $1,000 three-bedroom, I'll call you every day if I have an opportunity for a 1,000 three-bedroom new development.
Okay, so we have a
So-
master list request to put it on the website. Basically, we'll say, right now, there's no
Right, you just
affordable
gotta
housing
jump in.
available.
Yes, it's a free-flowing
It's got
discussion.
free-flowing.
Just jump in.
Yeah.
So back to the whole comprehensive development plan.
I like, we have a
When
good
you
time.
have, for instance, dates, and they're tentative, right? So like you said, in terms of when the tentative opening date is. And then you also can give a parameter as to when the affordable housing, or just plain opportunities to rent, because our communities are the best ambassadors to let people know, like, hey, if you want to come to Teaneck, a great place to live, these apartments are going to be available X, Y, Z date. So I think that getting that information out into the community, not just for the affordable housing component, but just so that people are abreast of when these developments are coming up. So for instance, Worthy Road, that thing looks like my kids built it, for real. I'm looking at the grass is growing up, I've never seen people working there, so I'm happy to hear that
Jason
there's.
Castle's good for me, inspected, they're building it.
I will work on with the clerk I'll work with the clerk on putting that page up with anticipated dates. And by the way, as an example, Avalon Bay will be probably doing through the end of 2019.
I want Henry to do that. I want Henry to put it.
No, I'm only throwing these
No,
things
no,
at
no,
people.
no, 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 no.
You
I
want me
don't
to
want
do
him
what?
to be, I want you to do that so that when people say, I would like to talk to Henry.
I'll do
No,
that.
no, I don't want it. Henry's the conspiracy. The conspiracy is with Henry.
What I've been told is,
They don't trust
anybody wants
us.
anything done, and they talk to Elwood, so we don't give it to
They
Elwood.
don't trust us, we want you.
I'll work on it.
There has to be,
Next page.
there has to be,
Huh?
there has to be an education component to this.
Yes,
Right.
you and Javon are in charge of that, because they don't trust us. They don't trust us. That's, I agree with
I
that.
will work on it, Keith will work with the clerk on the page data, Henry and I will
So
work on
it's the
it.
three.
And you guys are doing the education, right?
Okay,
Now, Elliot, that's your page.
all right.
You guys are in charge of the page,
Yes.
you guys are in charge of the education.
It's a beautiful.
Guys, you hear that? The affordable housing, and Dr. Brewer, Javon and they're doing it. It's gonna be on the website.
And you get
All
this
information.
All right, Elliot, this is your page.
All right, so increased water and sewage fees, so this, I would like to work with the manager to
Done, yes.
correct,
Go.
okay, not to necessarily
For the little guy,
increase,
right?
but adopt,
For the little businesses that.
the way that it was originally put together, and I know because it was my idea, and the way that it was originally implemented for the first 2-3 years is not the way it's supposed to be done right. It's not the way it's being done. And it's hurting the little guys, and we have maybe opportunity to make a little more money.
All right,
So
guys, we got
I'll-
10 minutes to
This
wrap
is
up
the batch
before our
versus
interview.
individual.
All right?
Go ahead.
Right, exactly, so, okay, talk this tax, and I think we have, right now, 2 good hotels that are pumping us some nice money. Fees for new smart development, we have, re-examine the township holistically, determine the best areas for future development.
We already talked about
That's,
that.
that's.
The agent, the redevelopment agency, well,
Is the parking fund on here?
Next.
Is the part, wait, back
Oh,
up,
parking
back up.
fund.
We want to do a parking fund,
Yes.
which is, which is.
Okay, so, Ellie, walk through the parking fund.
Quickly, a parking fund is that, and listen, we missed a little bit of the boat, but you know, if we keep saying we missed a little boat, you know, you're always gonna miss the next boat. Is we take a small little piece, 7 cents for every square foot after a 10,000 square foot development. And so, like, for example, a place like, I don't know, what's 100,000 square feet? Is it 1 point,
Yeah,
World of Wings, you know? They would have had to put in $7 grand into our parking fund. Then you have World of Wings, another $7,000. Then you have the Teaneck Road, whatever the money is. Next thing you know, you turn around, you have 30, 40 grand in the account, and we can leverage that to do other things. It could be a drop in the bucket for parking spots, but it also could be an
But
opportunity.
it funds the study.
It funds stuff, exactly.
It funds
Now,
the study.
parking, but the other-
Are we also okay with bylaws?
I like that. Next
What's a
slide.
All right, whoa, whoa, Henry said he likes it, so. can we
Okay,
get
master
unanimous?
list,
Okay.
it's on the master
It's
list.
on the
Master list.
So,
Okay.
Yvonne?
Okay,
Hold on.
a lot of times we have something where like 100 parking spots are required, but realistically, the planning board goes, that's what it says on paper, you know, you only need 80, so there's that 20 drop right there. A PILOT allows a payment in lieu of parking where the applicant can pay, just like a pilot, but it's a PILOT.
Yeah, so
And you
we'll add
can
that
have
to
a
our
payment in
next
lieu of
fund.
parking.
Put that with the fund, that should be a part of the fund.
We got 2 pages left, and we got 10 minutes.
Is there restrictions on how the money can be utilized? What's the
Problem
plan
is
for
that
the
it's
money?
gonna be
Into the parking.
Right, it has to go to parking, but
I think it should be specifically parking studies, parking, building parking lots,
where the
municipal lot,
or
paving over.
One last thing.
what we
Hey, next page.
Wait, how do we leave it as far as rental cars and putting a small little
We didn't
assessment on
talk
all
about
rental cars going on Teaneck?
No, we don't, I mean, that's too complicated.
Well,
Why do you want to do that?
because there's a couple of rental car agencies in Teaneck, and if
Well,
we
Chase
can get
Business Oil.
50 cent, there's many of the rental cars being rented and locally are being done by insurance
Can we do it?
companies.
Can we do that?
So I'd like to ask our
This,
attorney.
can we do that? Can we-
What are you talking
I don't know, you're talking about cost.
Tax on rent.
You're taxing your fees.
I'm sitting in a rental car right now.
I rent your cars, basically, we get $1 from every car that's rented, and there's 100 cars rented a week, or 1,000 cars rented a week. That's up.
Look,
I'll look at what other, what the other.
I know it's hard to rush people, but let's go to the next slide. Reduction in expenditure. Now, periodic meetings between the township, the Board of Education, we're gonna do that, I think, in a couple of weeks.
Yes, we just.
And then the periodic meetings with Hackensack and Inglewood, and then
What's
periodic
what's
meetings
the
with the county.
township and the board of
What about the
education?
county?
How's that meeting?
Oh,
Which
so they'll sit down with, there's a committee that sits down with the Board of Ed, chairman and the superintendent and the business people to see whether we can collaborate.
Yeah,
on some
who's
things.
on the committee?
Javon and me
Who?
and William
okay, good.
and we're trying to get the mayor to come
Come where?
to a
Board of
meeting
Ed
with the Board of Ed to talk about collaboration.
Just have, let's have their board of ed and meet with everybody here.
No, they have a subcommittee. that's the whole-
Henry, that's another thing we could do, by the way, is have one of these type of meetings with
With the
both
board
boards.
of ed. Yeah, that's what I said, let's do.
That's a good
There's
idea.
no reason
We
to
can
do it.
invite them.
Like, I don't want to do it. My whole thing is, if you want to do it, let's do it publicly. You know?
The agenda.
I want to have closed door meetings.
Here's the question from Jamal, what could be the agenda if we sat down and, how can we work together?
For instance, one agenda item for me is the grant writer. How do we utilize that
Maybe we could
opportunity?
use that for the Board of Ed, have them
I
pay half.
thought, did I see something, you
On the
know,
shared service.
that,
I mean, yeah, I've
Grant
talked
program or
about
something?
actual shared services. I don't want to see them, you know, up at the Lowell School plowing with, you know, equipment, the entire parking lot on a Friday when, you know, this could melt by Sunday, when those plows could be used for township. There are
Good
actual
luck with
places we
that.
can.
Come on, good luck with that.
That's
I
actually.
mean, I understand what you're saying.
That's actually.
But
It's
if
not-
there's
it's
not
not-
going to be a
well,
given
look,
team, there's no point in the meeting. I
we're
think
both
we can have
actually the
a
same population here.
So it doesn't matter about that. It comes down to their priorities, as rightly so, is to take care and plow that, make sure Hawthorne is plowed so my kids get in and out, right?
On
My
Saturday.
job,
That's
on
what
Saturday.
they do.
On Saturday.
7 a.m.
Regardless if they do it on Saturday, he's not in charge of it.
Yes, but he
Also,
gets a
that's
letter.
also, that's an
That's why I
agreement,
asked for an
that's an
agenda.
agreement that we have with them,
Like,
that they would have as a priority to do around the schools, so we don't have to worry about
I
doing
understand,
that.
right? You guys both.
That's something we've arranged with them.
Know both bodies.
Okay.
You guys set the agenda, and then bring it back, and let's have a meeting together.
And by the way, the Board of Ed, I think today wanted something from us.
Yeah, so, I mean, I wanna get to, can I just
Okay.
tell you, I sent,
Can we
Oh,
add-
did anybody get any communication from the board of
I
Ed?
sent you
Yeah,
an email,
I got
I
it.
sent you an email from me today, there's an email for this.
Today, but from last night, before that, nobody, right? Because I'm told that we were supposed to get back to them about something that, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
So I did send an email and it involves, a preschool program and grants.
Yeah, the-
Grant that
Yeah,
they
so
were
I suppose.
They need to partner with someone, and they were talking about partnering with our space. I think we gotta have a really significant.
Yeah, they're talking about.
Yeah.
We gotta have a real serious conversation about how that impacts us. And
I thought they were going to do it at the church.
I just don't know how we can do it in a week. I don't know how we can do that. They need it. Yes. So I don't know how we can have that discussion that fast and get them a decision.
Okay, can we go to the next slide?
I said, no,
Go to the next slide.
No, you missed one.
No, they didn't have the church.
that's the beginning.
This is-
Can you go back one?
slide?
Yeah.
No, what's after that?
Periodic meetings with Hackensack.
Yeah.
What's the next one after that?
That was the Hackensack and Teaneck.
Okay, there's one that's. Kind of thing that we can become a first-class town.
We are, right?
We work harder at doing the things that we can do. And I, listen, let me say this. I appreciate you guys putting up with this PowerPoint.
Very
These are your ideas,
It was good.
and we'll follow up as we can.
Let's jump in.
I want to do one more.
I've lost control of this.
We got this master list, and numbers have been assigned some stuff on this master list. I want this formalized, and I want to see it at every meeting.
Perfect. You take that opportunity. No. There is no secretary. We're the secretary. There is.
That's not right. Put on the back of the agenda.
Yeah, look.
Let me just read through it to summarize
Yes.
what we had.
But also, I want to add the
And we'll
digital
get
sign
this-
on Teaneck Road.
This is-
Digital sign on Teaneck Road. We're gonna.
Outside the municipal.
What?
Outside the municipal.
Yeah.
Yes.
Proper insurance.
Yeah.
Drunk driver insurance.
Mr. Mayor, I'm through, and I made it before 8:30.
That's great. So we got actually 3 minutes before we go in. So look, if you could just put that master list together and send it out to everybody. But one of the things is, look, some of us have been doing this for multiple years, right? And just, okay, so I just said some of us have been doing this for multiple years, and some of us haven't. And what ends up happening is, if the reason I say you do it, is because I know things fall through the cracks. Okay? And what ends up happening is just like everybody else, William comes in, he starts with a day where he says, this is what's gonna happen. And then one email this way, 3 minutes, all right? 3 minutes. One email this way, one email this way, one fire this way, and next thing you know, that thing gets pushed to the next day, and to the next day, and to the next
We
day.
know that light gets in the way, but at least we have some guiding principles.
But if I could just finish,
No, it's a
right?
master
I'll
list.
I'll serve as the point person for you. Put the master list together.
So let me say this.
Okay.
We have an action items list that we produce. These will get put on the action items list, and they'll stay on until it worked off. You know how we have to.
Well, no,
Bull.
what-
So let me-
no, I want the
Bull
list,
in the
I want the
house.
list, I want the list to show us
Separate? Okay.
what's happening. I don't want a list of just stuff.
So we could
I want to
separate
hear
this.
I want to get a status, and there may be nothing each month. Don't
Right.
Do a chart, we have columns for.
But
when-
basically have a tracking so we know, because I know in my very short period of time here, I've been trying to do ticklers for me to make sure I'm on
We
top
can
of
do
it.
that.
Okay,
That'll get done.
Look, we gotta go into the resolution, we go into closed session.